Patrice Evra, one of Manchester United's greatest ever fullbacks, nearly saw his career destroyed, all because of injury, and it was saved by something completely unexpected: a piece of chicken. Yes, you heard that right, a piece of chicken. But behind the humor lies an incredible story of resilience, survival, and greatness. So how did Evra turn near disaster into legendary status? Patrice Evra's life has always been a tug of war between despair and determination, but his story proves that even the heavier shadows can't snuff out a resilient spirit. This wasn't the first time Patrice found himself on the verge of something life-changing, only to feel despair closing in around him. But before the injury, before the fame, there was a young boy on the streets of France struggling to survive. As the son of a diplomat, life should have been easy, or as we'd say back home, in bread butter on both sides. But when his parents divorced, Evra, his siblings, and his mother were left destitute. With the main source of income and security gone, survival became a daily struggle. Yet even in the darkest moments, Evra found a way to shine. His sense of humor and resilience became a light for his family. But even the strongest among us have moments of doubt. Evra recalls one such moment from his youth. On the first day of school, we had to show the class what we wanted to become. I wrote footballer. The teacher asked me, "Patrice, do you really think that out of 300 kids, you will be the one to make it?" I said yes. Everyone laughed. For years, it looked like the teacher was right. But what if the laughter had crushed his belief? What if Evra had listened to the doubters instead of his dream? History could have ended right then and there, but it didn't. Instead, it lit a fire that blazed within him and carried him through the hardest battles, including the one that came next. At just 17, Patrice Evra was invited to a trial in Italy, a city he'd only heard of, Turin. The invitation came from an unlikely source, a restaurant owner in Paris, a man he barely knew. Skeptical but desperate for an opportunity, Evra knew he couldn't afford to let this chance slip by. But when he arrived at Torino, the dream slipped through his fingers. He failed to impress the staff, and it seemed like the trip would be yet another disappointment. Yet amidst the rejection, a glimmer of hope appeared. A director from Marsala, a small Sicilian club in the 3rd division, saw something special in him. Evra returned home. Convinced this was his moment, he persuaded his mother to let him chase this fragile dream and pack the few belongings he had. The most important item, a scrap of paper with his home phone number, his only lifeline back to his family. The journey to Marsala was fraught with challenges. When he arrived in Milan, he frantically searched for the train that would take him to the remote mountain village in northern Italy. But there was no train. He had missed it, alone in a foreign country with no way to contact home. Despair gripped him. The silver lining he thought he'd found felt cruelly snatched away. Then out of nowhere, kindness appeared in the form of a stranger. Evra recalls this moment vividly. The only thing I could tell about him was that he was from Senegal and that he was blind in one eye. I showed him my ticket and he said, "Your train's gone, it left an hour ago." But this stranger was like an angel. He told my mother, "Don't worry, tomorrow I'll put him on the right train," and he did. That one act of kindness rerouted Evra's life like a GPS correcting a course. Evra's career in Italian football began to rise steadily. At Marsala, he worked tirelessly adapting to a new culture and a new level of competition. A year later, he earned a move to Monza in Serie B, where his potential became undeniable. Then came the move to Nice, and everything changed. Evra's performances were exceptional, turning heads all across Europe. By the end of the season, he earned a spot in the League One team of the season. Shortly after, Monaco came calling. At Monaco, Evra reached even higher heights, establishing himself as one of the best left backs in France. His rise seemed unstoppable, but as fate would have it, Evra's journey was far from smooth. Just when he was on the brink of superstardom, a devastating foot injury during an international game threatened to derail his progress entirely. Now imagine this, you've just overcome the odds, climbed out of poverty, worked your way through Italian football and made it to the cusp of greatness. The world is finally starting to take notice, and then in one cruel instant everything comes crashing down. Would you give up? Would you wait it out, hoping for another chance? Or would you do whatever it takes, even if it sounds completely insane? Because that's the choice that Patrice Evra faced. Just as his career was taking flight, disaster struck, and everything he had worked for was about to unravel. During an international game with the French under-21 team, he suffered a serious injury to his foot. For Evra, this wasn't just a setback, it was a season-ending blow, one that cast doubt over his meteoric rise. He was devastated. Sitting on the sidelines while his team pressed on was unbearable. Worse still, Monaco coach Didier Deschamps recognized Evra's immense value to the team. His presence on the flank wasn't just tactical, it was transformative. Without him, Monaco's ambitions seemed out of reach. Deschamps knew they couldn't afford to lose him, but traditional medical options offered no solutions. Evra was willing to do anything to stay on the field, but no one could have predicted the unusual suggestion that followed. A member of the club staff turned to Deschamps and said, "Why don't we go old school?" The room fell silent. Evra himself was confused. What could they possibly mean? But as a staff member explained the idea, everyone, including Evra, burst into laughter. At least, that's how I imagined it went. Put a chicken in his boot, the staff member suggested. But Evra, always open-minded, decided to try. To everyone's astonishment, it worked. Evra not only managed to play but delivered performances so exceptional that by January 2006, Sir Alex Ferguson and Manchester United came calling. But there is one part of Patrice Evra's story that's rarely talked about. A part that shaped him not just as a footballer, but as a man. As a child, Evra endured abuse, a trauma that haunted him for many years. He once described how this experience left scars, but instead of letting it define him, he chose to heal, to grow, and to fight for the safety and love every child deserves. It's this fight that inspired him to give back. Today, Evra is not just a football legend, but a champion for children. He's invested in education and has opened shelters in Senegal, ensuring the next generation has food and opportunities he never had. In January 2006, Patrice Evra signed for Manchester United, embarking on an unforgettable 8-year journey. His story of resilience, courage, and an unrelenting refusal to give up saw him recover from a disastrous debut against bitter rivals Manchester City to cement his legacy, not just as a United legend, but as one of the greatest left-backs in Premier League history. From the streets of France to the pinnacle of European football, and from childhood trauma to becoming the voice for the voiceless, Evra's journey proves that greatness isn't just about talent, it's about heart, perseverance, and purpose. If his story inspired you, don't stop here. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that even the toughest challenges can lead to triumph. But Evra isn't the only Red Devil who defied the odds. Another Manchester United icon had his fair share of obstacles on his road to glory. Dive into Dwight Yorke's untold story now. Click above to uncover the journey of another legend.